Hey guys, morning. Uh, just to check, can you guys hear me properly? Hey, morning guys. Thanks for waiting. Can you guys hear me properly? Just to check before I start. Awesome, cool. Well, thanks so much for waking up and coming for our webinar. But yeah, this is my first webinar, so quite excited. I think I did this presentation before at the Youth Hack, so I thought I'd go a bit deeper because it seemed like a lot of people are quite interested in it. And actually, a lot of my mentees that book my time, they always ask me like, why did I move from consulting to FutureLab, and also how did I start it while having a full-time job. So I thought, we'd make a slide presentation to just go deeper into it. And then I like answering questions. So we do have some questions already, but I really enjoy answering questions. So I prefer that than just talking to you guys. So please stop me anytime. Um, and then I'll answer some questions on the slides. And then towards the end, if you have any bigger questions or want to go deeper, you can just let me know. Also, if I'm speaking really quickly, let me know. I tend to do that. So, okay, let's begin. Okay, cool. So I'm not sure how many of you guys know about FutureLab, but just a brief introduction. What we try to do is build a platform that connects students and professionals to mentors, and in order to gain career advice and guidance. So we really want to build a community of mentors that help inspire the next generation, as well as help them reach, what they want to achieve, whether that be starting on business, entering Google, entering McKinsey. We really just want to help you get there, and we do that by linking you guys to mentors, because I think they can help you a lot. And when I was starting out, I didn't have a mentor, so I thought I should build a platform for this. Yeah, our mentors are, our biggest assets. We've been lucky enough to be sent over to Silicon Valley. We got to meet really awesome mentors. And I think there's a slight delay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, we've managed to go to, Facebook, Google, Apple, Microsoft, Pinterest, and we got to meet really, really cool people. Um, so the Microsoft picture, right? And that guy is actually the COO of Microsoft. He's the guy that actually launched the Xbox. Um, like back in the day. So he was telling us about his experience, like when he's saying like Bill came into his office, and me and Clarissa was like, who's Bill? He's literally talking about Bill Gates. So I was like, oh, that's so cool. But yeah, so I mean, for like his advice to young people is, follow your passion, work hard and make sure you keep at it. So moving on, we have currently around 30 plus companies over 6 countries, and this month we're getting a lot of consulting firms on board. So McKinsey, Bain, BCG will be coming on board very soon. Then you guys get to speak to them directly, which would be quite I think that would have been quite cool when I was younger. Uh, let's move. Yeah, sorry guys, a slight delay. So our mentors do help you in a few ways. So we provide mentor insights. They can help you with job application tips, how to start your own company, how to raise funds, what's digital marketing. And for people looking for more specific jobs, they can also help you check your CV and give you practice interviews. Okay, so we've only been out for around 10 months. So what we have achieved, we got the Cradle CIP 150. So they gave us 150,000 ringgit to start FutureLab, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later. We got featured in Vulcan Post, and before we built anything, I got into the Stanford Go-to-Market program, which was they selected 50 entrepreneurs out of 300, I think, in Southeast Asia. That was really fun. After we got in, we launched FutureLab. In a month or two, we got into the top 25 startups in Malaysia. So they sent me and Clarissa to Silicon Valley for 3 weeks. We spent 2 weeks studying at Stanford, all the site visits. We also spoke at Berkeley, USC, and UCLA. And we managed to work with the Malaysian society there, which is very cool. In March this year, we raised our seed round, so we are fully funded till next year. And yeah, I mean, I've been invited to be a mentor in a few places now. So Google Startup Weekend, Young Corporate Malaysia, We're currently working with Lean In coming up as well, and another mentorship program called Thrive that we'll all be using FutureLab. And we're actually building really cool stuff. You guys will hear about it the next month or so. So, what we try to do at FutureLab, the most important thing that we hold dear is that our values, which is adding value to society. So all our mentors, they want to give back. And it's really awesome to see how many people want to give back to society. And it really encourages us. Second, employing a growth mindset. The whole point of having a mentor is so that you can keep growing and becoming more awesome. Because, education um, does not stop after university. You got to keep studying, keep learning so that you can always be the best, right? And move up the ladder. And also, lastly, create the career you love. I think the problem nowadays is that a lot of people aren't happy with their jobs, and then they blame people. So I think that's just irritating. You should try to do your best and make your own path, because no one should be in charge of your happiness. So I think creating your own future and your own lifestyle is key. So, okay, now let's get into what we are here for. How to take an idea and turn it into reality. Guys, is there a lag in the? Okay, cool. All right, so yeah, tell me if there's a lag or anything, or I'm going too quick. Just message and the team will let me know. So I think there are four main stages in getting to where we are. So step one is ideation. What is the big idea? Step two, prototyping, building your MVP, which stands for minimal viable product. Three, building traction. You got to prove that it works to investors. And then lastly, once you have those numbers, you can raise your seed round. And I'll talk into that as well. All right. So what is the big idea? So first of all, I think it's important to understand. Oh, sorry, guys. I think I made something. So what is the problem, right? Um, I think this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs don't really think about that enough, right? So you got to ask yourself a few questions. What is the problem big enough? What is the actual problem you're solving? Is this problem a really small problem that you and your few friends face, or is this a big problem that a lot of people will face? And this is really important to understand because you know the, how big your business is dependent on how big of a problem you solve. So before you start, um, you know, sorry, before you start jumping into anything, you should really, really think about the problem you're trying to solve. Whether that be, for example, right? Google Google is huge because they made search really easy. Um, you have Netflix, which grew like mad because they made online streaming so easy, and you have Grab now that solved a huge taxi problem in Malaysia. And it does not sound that sexy, to be fair to me, like a taxi app, but it's a huge problem here. Like, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys have been tried like scammed by taxi drivers in KLCC. And they ask you for 50 ringgit for just a 5-minute drive. So I thought it was, think of the problem. Second, look at the companies out there trying to solve the same problem. You know, are they doing it well? If they're not, how can you do it better? So this is another thing as well, is like understanding how many other people are solving this problem and how are they solving it. So you should really, when you're coming up with the idea, focus on a key problem. For us at FutureLab, it was how do we bridge the gap between education and career, right? That was our problem that we really wanted to solve. And we checked out all the other companies out there. So, we looked at, career services at universities, to Glassdoor, to LinkedIn. And we all thought like, how are we different, and what's our differentiator? And then after that, we had to understand our environment as well. If you're doing, let's say, a fintech startup, you need to understand bank regulations, where the bank's moving towards. If you want to build something in education like us, we need to understand where's Malaysia moving towards, what's the universities looking at. So it's very important to understand the board that you're playing in. So imagine that you're playing a game, right? So you need to understand the, the board, right? What is around, what can you use to your advantage, what is going to hinder your progress. So it's very important you understand your environment. And lastly, test and then speak to your customers. So, once you have the problem, you've understood what is your differentiator, you understand the environment, and you feel like, yes, this is a great idea, go and speak. So the pictures below are basically things we did before we spent any money on FutureLab. Um, so when I was looking for a management consulting role, when I first came back from studying, I used to use Laoyat Forum a lot. I'm not really sure how many of you guys use Laoyat, but it's pretty sick. Um, so, and if you type in FutureLab Laoyat, you'll see all my posts like back in the day. So, yeah, we were quite spammy. So what we did was, I was already working in Accenture, and I felt like, whether FutureLab, the idea would work. So what we did was, I literally posted on Laoyat, hey guys, we have consultants from Bain, BCG, Accenture, Deloitte coming to a coffee shop, which were my friends, and I just invited them in. We posted up a Google form, and like 20 people signed up. We had to limit it to 20 because I had no clue who would be coming, and it could be really scary if, like, I don't know, really random people came. But it was interesting because these were all really young, fresh grads, or like they've been working for 1-2 years and trying to enter the management consulting industry. So it was, that was really good proof of concept for us. And then they sat down with me, and I went through the FutureLab idea with them. Asked them like, hey, we want to build this. What do you think? So the first one we did was management consulting, and that was really successful. So, like, to me, I want more proof, right? So that entire year, I did like 6 of these. We did uh, management consulting, banking, accounting, marketing. I can't remember the last two. It felt like quite a while ago now, but we just got a lot of people to give us feedback about what we want to build before we started anything. So that comes down to step one, right? The ideation stage is so important. You have to ask yourself these questions. What is the problem you're solving? Is it big enough? Are there companies out there doing it already? How are they better? One thing that's interesting is that, let's say there is a company doing it really well in the States, you can just copy it here, right? So you got to see, like, maybe the market here is better. So you need to understand your location, your environment, and then once you're really happy and you think this is something you really feel like you want to check out, then test it, right? Don't spend any money on this, because you shouldn't, because a lot of people start building stuff and they just waste money because no one uses it. I think there's one more point I want to make here. Never mind, I'll come back to it. Okay. All right, cool. So second, prototyping, building your version 1.0. So the important thing about before you start anything is, like, you have to build your minimal viable product. So we call it the MVP. So that is basically the most basic thing you can do for your product to be launched. So for example, in FutureLab, mentor can create profile, mentee can create profile, mentee can book mentor, and you guys can launch a Google Hangout. So that's it, right? That was our MVP. So, that's the most basic thing we could build to test our concept. And before, in order to do that, I kind of left my consulting job, and I learned how to code for 3 months as well, because I think a good CEO should understand the tech and the business side, because at the end of the day, he has to decide what's best for both teams. So, I was, even when I went to Next Academy, I actually hired my team from there, so which was really, really cool. And they were like my coding buddies, but now they're obviously a lot better than me. But yeah, I mean, that's not my job. My job is to make sure everything runs smoothly. Okay, so once you understand, what is the bare minimum of what you should be building, then the next question is how do you fund it, right? How do you build it? So always go to your friends and family first, because, yeah, I don't know whether I should, yeah, because, friends and family doesn't mind if you lose their money. But yeah, you should put in your own money as well if you have. So me and my founders, me and my co-founders, we put in some money to begin. We didn't take any money from friends and family because we put in our own money. Then we did Then we got Cradle. So there are also government grants you can apply for, right? So Cradle is a good one. We got CIP 150, but I think they closed it now. Now there's CIP 300, which is a lot better. So that is 300,000 ringgit. You guys should read up on it. But you need to have a lot of data and proof of concept before applying because it's so competitive now. There's around, I think they get around 200 applications a month, and it's like a 1% success rate. So yeah, if you guys want more questions about Cradle, you can ask me at the end, and I can tell you a bit more. So there's also accelerators and incubators that you can go for. Magic is a good one. Magic has really good resources in terms of they have networks around the world. They brought in Stanford professors. Those are the two programs we got into. They flew us to Silicon Valley. So actually their programs are really good, and they have a huge network of entrepreneurs that can mentor you as well. So, and I think that they used to give really small grants. I think they used to give around 30,000 ringgit, which is okay, but I'm not really sure whether they still do it anymore. So let me just go back. So, like the key points here, once you have tested the idea, you know what you want to build. You now need to think about what do you have to build and what is the bare minimum, functions you need to test your concept. Because a lot of people will jump into it and say, oh, I want this, I want that, I want this should have this feature. And it becomes really, really, really expensive. So it can go up to 100,000 ringgit. It's 100,000 ringgit, man. It's a lot of money. So be careful about, how you spend your money, and, understand, if you're that good, you can build it yourself. Building it yourself would be better. Don't spend any money on it because you don't need to. And all you need to do is just show that there is traction, as in people want to use it, and then you can go raise funds to build it properly. So that leads me on to my third step, which is building traction. And you want to prove that it works, right? So the first thing is you have an MVP now. You are very confident that it should work. Let's go throw it. Let's get into the market, right? So I think there are two ways of getting users. The first one is digital marketing using your digital channels. So that'd be like your social media, that'd be your Facebook, your Google Plus, your Twitter, your Instagram. That's the digital way. Google AdWords. You can Google it yourself. And there's traditional ways, which is radio, newspapers, articles, flyers. So it depends on your market, who you're targeting. If you're building a tech platform, then digital is probably the way, because you're trying to reach techie customers, right? So once you're able to reach them, you want them to try your platform for free, right? Just let them use it, collect feedback, collect lots and lots of data. So whether that be your customer profiles, feedback of your platform, what they like about it, what they hate about it, what they would improve, any other cool ideas that they might come up with. So once you collect all this kind of information, then you come up with, okay, I'm going to improve this product to this now. Then you build it. You keep working on it. Then you repeat it. You just keep doing this over and over and over again. So for FutureLab, before we raised any money, we did around 330 sessions, mentoring sessions. And our graph is really nice because, our product is quite new, and I think a lot of people just don't really understand how to use it yet. But people are using it. So one thing we realized is that, hey, these people want to use it. And another thing that was really interesting about it is that there were people from around the world trying to get on. So I think we have around 1,300 plus mentees now, but they come from 36 different countries. They're definitely countries you don't advertise. So there's like Israelis there's like French people, there's Brazilians, there's Japanese. So it's really, really random. But then again, it just shows that, the problem we're solving is not just a Malaysian problem. I think it's more of a global problem. I think most students need this information because you don't know what you don't know, right? Until you enter the workforce. And sometimes it's a bit hard to tell a student what they don't know until they get in. Then they're like, oh, that's what FutureLab was for. So well, it's not too late to use it, I guess, once they start working. But we really want to help students really understand a lot of things because actually education is a bit outdated. Um, but that's too long to get into. But really, what you should be doing at university is really understanding the industry that you want to get into and the skill sets they need, because you should build it. You should really work on it at university. So when you come out, you are like the top pick of the bunch, because you know your stuff, right? You're the best. So they will definitely take you and they'll definitely pay you a shit ton of money. Cool. So yeah, again, building traction, making sure your users use your product, you collect feedback. You should always try to build a very customer-centric business, because one thing I see some founders do as well is that everyone thinks they're Steve Jobs. They think that, okay, I'm going to build this because I know this is what people need, and people will come, right? So I mean, you might be exceptional, but the chances are you're not. So try to you should have a vision. At the same time, you should always get customer feedback along the way, because it's going to be a very costly mistake if you spend a lot of money building something that no one's going to use. So it's very important that you just keep trying stuff, and then seeing, is this the right direction your business should be growing or your platform should be growing. Yep. Okay, so go raising your seed round. There are two main kinds of investments at our stages for startups. One is angel investors. So these guys are informal investors, people with a lot of money to spend. So these are like, probably around 45 to 60-year-olds that either have businesses on their own and they have just a lot of cash, and they want to invest in small companies, because returns can be quite high if you invest in the right team. So these guys are really chilled. They're like your uncle. He's like, hey, can I have some like 50,000 ringgit? And he's like, oh, sure. And he'll give you for like 1%, um, which is really, really good. So you should always go for angel investors first, because these are individual people. The second type of money is venture capitalists. You got to be very careful when dealing with these people. Not the people, but it's because of their, who they represent. So they work for companies that have lots of money to invest in companies. So they're investing on behalf of a company, right? So they always have the company's interest at heart first. And the difference also between angel investors and venture capitalists is the kind of contracts you sign. So angel investors are a bit more chill. They just want ordinary shares. So there's there's not too much catch attached to it. Whereas venture capitalists, there's a lot of things. So you got to be very, very careful in what you sign. So most of the time they want something called preferential shares, which means that, so these shares are worth more than the founder shares, right? So founders tend to have ordinary shares. So what these shares do is, um, let's say I took 1 million ringgit from a VC, right? And I sold my company for, let's say, 5 million ringgit. The VC will get his money back first. So he will get his 1 million out of FutureLab, so that'll be 4 million. And then he will take his percentage of what he owns in FutureLab. So let's say he owns 20%, then he'll take another 20% out of the 4 million. So, he would have taken a lot. So depending on like the valuation of the company that you sold, if you don't strategize properly, how you take money and how much money you need to take over the period of your business, you can really bite yourself shoot yourself in the foot. So there's a lot of things to think about when raising money, right? Besides just, I think in the media nowadays, it looks very sexy to raise X amount of millions. But dude, if you're running a company, you raise, let's say, 100 million, you might only own 1% of your company, which is tiny, which also means that you have no control of your company, which is very scary, right? Because imagine you build something from scratch, but you gave like 80% of your company away. You have no say in what happens to your company. And not only that, they can kick you out of your company. So, you know, like those like Uber, Grab, like all those big guys that raise hundreds of millions. I mean, they could get kicked out like any time, but they will still hold equity. But it's your baby, it's your thing, and someone else controls it now. And also, let's say you're an entrepreneur, you want to do something which you believe is the right direction for your company. The person that owns the majority share can just say, no, don't do that. You're doing this, and you have to do it. So you really got to think when you take money. I would say always go for angel investors first. Um, never take money from a bank or a loan shark. I think that's just common sense. Yeah, please don't ever take money from there. Um, if you can't fund yourself, save some money, then invest in yourself. Um, uh, so yeah. So I'll answer questions later. Uh, but yeah, I think always think long term when taking money. Make sure, if you're building a fintech company, it's really smart to have a strategic investor in the banking industry. If you're a bit like for us, we have investors in education. We're investors in Silicon Valley as well to help us get mentors from Silicon Valley. So think about, what value they can add to your company besides just giving money, right? Because money you can get from anywhere if you have a good business. Then the next level is, who should I take this money from? And if you don't think it's a good person, or you feel you just don't feel right when speaking to them, definitely don't take their money. Because if they give you money, then they would definitely have a say in your company. And you don't want that kind of trouble in your company itself, because you have so much shit to do anyways, right? You gotta get customers, you gotta build stuff, you have to market properly, you gotta hire people. So you don't want any trouble in the high level. um, yeah. So I think, oh, okay. So now we go into having the right mindset. So I talked about, the first steps that which we took to get to where we are. And this is very similar to all the learnings we have done in Silicon Valley and Magic and all the other stuff I've read. There's tons of material on YouTube, by the way. You should definitely just go watch it and learn. So having the right mindset is super important, right? If while you're going through the four steps, you need to keep learning, because you're never good enough. Right? That's one thing you should always remember. You and your team have to keep improving, because um, your team and you at the MVP stage is not good enough for when you're in the seed stage to when you're not good enough in the Series A stage. So if you stay the same, you're gonna die, right? You're gonna lose. Um, so it's very important that you keep learning as you go along, because definitely you need to go deeper. So for example, digital marketing, to how do you track everything, all the customer interactions, to how you retarget them using campaigns, to email campaigns. So for us, we're still learning that as well. So do apologize if you get a lot of spammy emails from us. We're working on that. uh, Everything's an experiment. So how people always talk about, if you fail, you get demoralized, and then you cry, you go bed. Like, if you have this mindset where everything is an experiment, and doesn't matter if it works or it doesn't work, um, it will help you a lot, right? Because what works for other companies might not necessarily work for you, and that's very important to remember. So you need to try everything, right? As I mentioned just now about getting customers from digital to traditional, there's so many different channels you should try. And you should just try every single one of them, and just see what fails, what works, what fails, what works. And at the end of the month, you will have what channels work for you. Then the next month, you can go into a deeper dive. Okay, these 4 channels worked really well for us. What other campaigns should we try? And then if you just have this mindset of for example, marketing, if you have that kind of mindset, you will eventually find your mechanisms of getting customers in, paying customers in, right? And then you can you can put this in your playbook. So then like, if I do this campaign, I will get X amount of people. So that's for marketing. And if you look at it in terms of building a product, making sure that all your features that you build is also an experiment, right? You make it very easy to test, to see what works, what doesn't work, what the users want, what they don't want. And you build it like that. And it's a lot more safe. Okay, third point, execution is everything. One thing I noticed about Malaysia is that a lot of people are scared about sharing their idea. And that's ridiculous, because an idea is an idea. Everyone has an idea, right? Um, so yeah, everyone has an idea. It's all about execution. Who can actually do it? You can think about, oh, I'm gonna build, Iron Man suit, but can you really build an Iron Man suit? So it's not easy. So one thing I realized as well when we went to Silicon Valley and we got to meet a lot of entrepreneurs, they were so open about the entire roadmap, to how much they spend, their marketing campaigns, to the numbers, what's the cost per acquisition, to everything. They were so open. We spoke to them for like an hour and a half. There was someone that built a future lab in the US, but slightly different model. He literally sat me and Clarissa down for 2 hours and explained what we should do and what we shouldn't do, because he's learned stuff over the like 2 years of running it, and now he's working at Uber. But the model is very different. So a model, yeah, I would say is better. Um, so, they're really happy to sharing this, because at the end of the day, whether you can execute or not is the most important thing. So remember that an idea is an idea. Definitely share it, because people should be poking holes in your idea, right? The more holes people poke in your idea, the better, because that means you know where the gaps. Then your job as a founder is to block those gaps, right? So then whenever someone asks you a question about your business, you know what to say, because you've thought about it already. And this is very important when you go for investment rounds, because investors are always going to be poking holes in your business idea, and if you can't defend it, they're not going to invest in you, because they know that you didn't think about it enough, right? Like, what differentiates, let's say, the two companies in banking industry, the team that knows the most will win, because it's execution. If they know what to do, they know the environment, they know how to play the game. And like, when investors speak to one team A versus team B, and team A can answer all their questions, they're going to invest in team A. Because think about it, right? Think about it in the point of an investor. I'm giving someone money, 100,000 ringgit, for example, to do something. Am I going to give it to someone that doesn't know shit, or someone that actually has thought about all the problems I've thought in my head? I'm definitely going to give it to the guy that has thought about it, right? So I always like to say, think a bit more, um, and think deeper, right? Like, don't feedback is really, really, really important, and the best kind of feedback is bad feedback. So get people to destroy your idea, and then you build it up from scratch, right? You get people to keep doing this, and you build something ridiculous. Okay, lastly, your team matters. Okay, so at the end of the day, this links to everything, because execution is everything. You need a good team that can execute. So, in a startup environment, it's hectic. There's a lot of stuff. It's not as structured as a corporate business. So people can get lost in the amount of work you have to do. So it's very important that you be able to keep the focus, and also have fun while doing it, because it's not easy. Um, but having a good bunch of people to work with every day is awesome. It's really fun. You get to do really cool things together. Um, and yeah, you keep the morale up as well. Um, yeah, and also when you hire people, if you guys are at that stage or will get to that stage, make sure you pick attitude over capabilities, because you can train someone to be good, but it's very hard to change attitude. So so yeah, I think when building a team, attitude over capabilities. Trust me on this. I've made mistakes. So you know like, it's very important that you enjoy working with them, because you spend long hours together, man. They're literally like your family at work. So just have fun. Okay, I think that's about it. So in summary, the 4 steps: the ideation, what's the big idea. I wrote down some questions. I hope you guys been writing some notes, but ask yourself these questions. Is the problem big enough? How you differentiate it? um, is any other companies doing it right now? you know Ask yourself these questions and really think about it, and then get people to poke holes in it. Then once you are happy with and quite happy with your idea, start looking at, how do I build a minimal viable product. Once that is up, you start building traction. You can do it for free, really. Like, don't spend any money on it. Use Layat forum, go to Facebook groups. There's really cheap ways of doing it. People give excuses, like really good ones will just do it, right? So even just if you have to go out to just find people to talk to, that is building traction. And then once you have all that and you have really good numbers, and this is really important, right? Looking at knowing that your business has the potential to succeed, because you're going to jump into it, you need to believe it. Else it's very hard for you to convince anyone to give you money, anyone to join your team, or any customers to pay for your service, right? So all these kind of steps really builds your confidence in your business and in your idea. And then when you raise your seed round, it's really good. It's a great place to negotiate because you know that you have something awesome. It's just that they might not see it yet because you haven't built it yet, but just wait and watch, because it's gonna be ridiculous. So it's very important that you go through these steps and you really think about it, and then you can raise your seed round. I'll follow up, once we raise our Series A next year. So I'll tell you how to get from there to there if I get there. Okay, so I think that's about it. So let's go to questions. Um, I see this. I just stop. Okay, cool. Let's set, like, how do you set up meetings to get investors? Okay, so there's a few ways. Have you guys heard of MBAN? There's no response, so I guess I shouldn't ask questions like that. Malaysia Business Angel Network. You guys write this down. So what they do is this is basically a network of private investors, angel investors, and they have pitching sessions every month. So if you have an idea, email them with a pitch deck, and then if they will invite you to give a talk, pitch to investors. That's one. Two, go to events, man. There's so many investors in events. Like, you go to like Magic hosts tons of events, Cradle hosts events. There's so many startup events that you should just go. Like, I think a lot about success is just like showing up. Like, seriously, right? Just going for it. Like, just putting your face there, being in an environment where things can happen, right? So just go there and talk to people, because I find that a lot of people are very shy. But no one's gonna give you money. You have to go out there, speak to people, understand a bit more about the environment. There are a lot more formal ways of getting it. So, for example, Amban, there's speed networking events hosted around. I mean, we probably could host one, but yeah, there's not enough timeline yet. So just go to these places, look around, and network. Like, seriously, network. Just go to events and stuff. Okay. So can someone write MBAN in the chat? Cool. Yeah, I think the team's writing it for you guys. Okay, so I'm going to go to your next question. How big of a number do we need to prove that it works? It doesn't work like that. It depends on how long have you been running it, and like the kind of business you have. For example, I'll give you FutureLab, right? So yeah, so for us, 10 months, 1,500 users, 36 countries with 300 plus, almost 400 sessions. I would say that's pretty good. Um, but then we've already raised our seed. But before that, our numbers wasn't as high, right? So I think, like, let's say you launch your MVP in 3 months, but you got 300 users. That's damn good. Especially you have 300 users, but 10 of them have paid you money. That's damn good. You should go for fundraise there and then, right? But let's say you've been running your MVP for 1 year, you have 100 users and one paying customer. Nah, man. I mean, if you ask money from me, I would say no, right? Because you try to put yourself in an investor point of view as well, right? When you look at your numbers, is these numbers impressive? Think about the duration that your platform has been up, the number of traction you have gained in that 2-3 months. If it's 100 users, that's around like 2-3 months. That's around like one user per day. That's really good, right? But if you're getting one user every 20 days, that's damn bad. So I think you just need to think about it a bit more like logically, in terms of like per day. Uh, that could really help you look into it, because if you're getting 2 or 3 users per day, that's already really, really good. For us, before our seed round, we were getting before our seed round, we were getting 1.2 sessions booked per day. So every month we had like 45 sessions or 50 mentoring sessions booked. I think our success rate was around, our completion rate was around like 86%. So that's still damn good, right? That's like more than a session a day. And then we were getting 2 or 3 signups, mentees a day. We're getting 4 mentor applications a week. Um, So when I negotiated for our seed round, yeah, I was pretty confident in what we were building. Okay, so how do you get this idea of building future platform? Is that like it came to your mind something? Nah, dude. I don't know whether like I've ever told you my story. So I'm a biochemist. So I studied biochemistry in England for 5 years, 4 years. So I studied it in Bath, and my third year I spent a year researching in Oxford as another rare disease. So at the end of my 1 year, I was offered to do my PhD. So Oxford wanted me to continue my research, but then I was thinking, nah, that wasn't the life for me. And you can imagine it's not easy to convince your parents that you don't want to get a PhD from Oxford, right? So, well, I managed to. And then I got into Imperial. So I got into Imperial Business School. I did a year in management there. And I found business to be a lot more easy than science because business, there's so many answers. Whereas science, there's only one answer. You get it wrong, it's wrong. So there's no, you can't bullshit around it. So after I finished that year, I wanted to get into management consulting. So when I came back to Malaysia, which I always planned to, I found it really hard to get the information I need to get into management consulting, like because all my networks was in science, right? I know a lot of pharmacology departments. I know a lot of pharmaceutical companies, but who knows what Accenture is? EY, KPMG, McKinsey, Bain, BCG. I didn't know any of that. But I had a really good CV, so I applied to BCG in the morning, and I got an interview invite at night. Um, so I thought like, oh shit, this should be quite easy. Like I can probably wing this and get a job. So I went for the interview the next week and got my ass kicked because I haven't practiced any case studies before. Oh, by the way, if you're applying for management consulting firms, practice your case studies. You need to at least 40 to 100 hours worth of case prep. Just FYI. But it also help you be a very good entrepreneur, right? So yeah, regardless, you should practice business acronyms and like how to analyze businesses because it will help you if you want to be an entrepreneur. So practice case studies, I would say. So the thing about BCG is that if you get an interview and you don't get the job, you can't apply for 2 years. And I didn't know that shit. So I was like, what? What? So I was like, I was arguing with the recruiters, like, why didn't you tell me this? Then she's like, oh, you should know. It's like, I didn't know. So then, I started practicing case studies with my parents, with my friends, until they got really bored of me. So what I did was, I went to Layat Forum, like all Malaysians do. I found a case study group thread, and I'm like, hey, anyone want to practice case studies with me? So one guy named like Bone Dragon, I actually didn't know whether it was a guy or a girl. He had a really weird avatar of a crazy anime chick. Um, so I said I'll meet this Bone Dragon in Bangsa Village Coffee Bean. So I texted my best friend, which is my co-founder, my CTO. Now it's like, hey, I'm meeting someone called Bone Dragon. This is his email address. If you don't hear from me at 4:30, call the police. I'm quite a big guy, so like it'd be quite hard to kidnap me. But if someone kidnaps me, then that's terrifying, right? Um, so I went there and then found out this person went to UCL. He studied in London as well and came back and also didn't have enough information about how to get into management consulting because he's exactly the same boat as me. Um, so then we practiced, and then that triggered something in me thinking like, hey, why can't we just speak to people in companies? Why does it have to be like career events? Why can't I just do it in my house? Why is it so troublesome, right? And that's when we started. That's in 2013, by the way, guys. So that took from there till now to where we are. So after that, I got into Accenture, and me and my co-founders, we always wanted to work together. So every Tuesday, we would sit in a mama in Hatamas and talk about an idea we wanted to work together over shisha. So when working on your idea, make sure that um, you are consistent in your actions. So that means that you want to work together to build something, then you commit time to it. Every week, Tuesday, whatever time, I will go here and we'll work on our business. And it takes time. You don't want to pressure yourself because again, I said you have a lot of homework to do before you even start, right? So you have to start, but at the same time, you need to build your knowledge around that. So and that takes time, especially if you're working full time. So I was working in Accenture as a consultant, and I was finishing work around 11 p.m., 12 a.m. sometimes. But I'll still meet them at 12:30 a.m. and I'll work with them till 2 a.m. So people say they don't have time and people quit their job to start their idea. I think that's a horrible idea. Don't ever do that. Think about it, right? People are paying you to learn. So if you have that mindset, just work on your day job and then sleep less, right? That's it. It's not that hard. Um, and I'm pretty sure none of you guys worked as hard as me back in the day. So no excuses. Okay. Yeah, and then eventually that evolved to FutureLab. The problem we wanted to do was education and career. Came out with a whole bunch of ideas. Spoke to schools about it. They hated it. They hated it. And then we went back to the drawing board, came up with new ideas, and then yeah, we just kept working on it until it was something that I felt was really solid, and I was very comfortable to leave my job for. Cool. Next question. Um, what's the next question? How long did it take for you to execute this idea into a model? Um, Damn long. I mean, the idea took. I mean, honestly, I didn't have FutureLab, right? So like, I had to learn this from scratch. So I'm telling you this, so you guys should be doing it a lot quicker than me, because I had to figure this out myself. So now you don't need to. I'm literally telling you what I've done. So it took me from 2013, from my first day on my job till now, like till last year. So I left my consulting job in January last year, because we just got Cradle CIP of 150, and then from there, it's been a really sick journey. So I left in January. We got 150,000 ringgit to build FutureLab. I got into the Stanford program, so I was there for a week learning how to build a go-to-market strategy. Then I had to learn how to code for 3 months. So it was like 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. coding. And then I went for a growth hacking course. At the same time, FutureLab was being built by a third-party developer. Launched it in July. Then we got into the ES Stanford program in August, like literally a month after launching. Then they flew us to Silicon Valley. We were there for 3 weeks because we went to give talks at like in Berkeley, USC, UCLA, and might as well go on a holiday as well since we were there. Came back, built my team. Yeah, reached 1,000 users in January this year. And then we raised our seed round in March. Yeah, and now we're here. Yeah, so yeah, it's been really fun. So our FutureLab 1 year anniversary is like next month. So I think we'll be building, like printing 1 year anniversary T-shirts. So if you guys want it, let us know. It will look quite cool. Cool. What's the next question? Do, do I, Nikita? I've heard a lot about lean strategy. How does it apply to FutureLab and other startups? Okay, so that's quite a good question. So when you have no money, right, you need to be very lean. That's why you need to do experiments and do experiments that are cheap. So as I mentioned, use marketing channels that don't spend any money, right? So your Laureate forums, your Facebook groups, your going to universities, that's all really free. And understanding what to build by doing experiments can make building your business very cheap, because you do really cheap tests to see what you should build, then you invest your resources into that particular thing. So as long as you have the mindsets that I repeated just now, I explained just now, that will help you go through a lean methodology of building startups. And actually a lot of them do it now, and that is just the way startups grow. Like it's like very lean, because until you reach a Series A, you won't have a huge marketing budget. You won't have like like a few million to spend. So you need to build very lean in building a business, and I think you should always be lean moving forward as well. You don't need such a big team, if your team is really really good. So make sure that your team learns. That's why, as I said, the mindset is very important. That the team keeps getting better, because as they get better, they get to do more things. And on a personal level as well, it's always very good for them because they also improve themselves. And as a team, you improve. So, and you also don't need to hire so many people. So you hire quality over quantity. Right. Am I missing any questions? Uh, which one should I go next? Two and three. Okay, so what is next for FutureLab? So right now we are revamping our sessions, and it looks really cool. Um, yeah, it will be launched at the end of the month. So we're creating something called a career readiness program. So like how like you basically go through a program and you're attached to a mentor, and they'll go through the career advice to checking your cover letter to giving you a mock interview. But the user face itself is very different, and it's more like last time our MVP, all we did was like launching a Google Hangout, and then you guys have a chat. But this one is more guided, so you actually have learning objectives. You can add comments to the objectives. You can um, it's hard for me to explain on here, but you guys will see it. So it's just more, it's better UI UX for how to conduct these sessions. Um, Mentees will also get a mentee rating. So after you guys speak to three mentors, you'll get feedback from them to what to improve, and then you can improve yourself, and then you can speak to more mentors and get better. We also partnering up with Lean In. I'm not sure whether you guys know about that. They are um, Sheryl Sandberg's women empowerment movement in the world. So they also have like a mentoring program. So they'll be using FutureLab to help these women taking career breaks, going through a trophy program on FutureLab with mentors, and then coming out and getting a job. Besides that, oh, there's so many things, man. Like I don't even know where to start. We're also having a social news feed coming up, so you can start following mentors. So AJ gave an amazing webinar last week. So AJ, like me, AJ can create our own webinars, and you guys can just watch it. They can create podcasts, and you can just follow mentors, and mentors can share articles, and then your news feed will be populated with good articles that are from mentors you're following. From whenever they're doing webinars, you know when to tune in, and then you can just watch and follow mentors. So I think this is really important because for me, like building FutureLab and I run a mentoring platform is really sick because I have mentors everywhere. So I have like, I don't know, probably like 10 mentors that help me do stuff. So from like, I know if I want to build teams, I know who to go to raise funds. I know who to go to, industry mentors. I know who to speak um, to just managing your life as a founder. I also have those mentors. So I also believe like you shouldn't be a hypocrite. If I'm building a mentoring platform and I don't use it, what does that say about me? So I use FutureLab a lot. So that's why I'm very confident in like um, how awesome it is. Like I know, yeah, you guys will see it over time. But we're also integrating into universities. So actually, what we're moving towards is university integration and companies. So all university students will be using FutureLab. So again, with a product like FutureLab, only the go-getters would use it, right? Not everyone in the world is like you guys now listening to me in the morning. So it's important that um, like we can help the people that need help, and we are working with companies to get mentors to speak to them, and you can recruit these students directly if they're good. think I think we should call it a day. Yeah. Thanks so much, guys, for like listening to me talk and answer questions. If you guys wanna, yeah. Anyways, where's my yeah, so the contacts are there. Our website is there. Since I run FutureLab, I can give you promo codes. So yeah, if you use Brian 30, you get 30% off all FutureLab subscriptions. And also do know that we donate 40% of this to charity. Right now we're donating 100% of it. So we're funding one teacher in what in Pahang. And we're almost done. So we're actually gonna fund her entire classroom with new tech. So now they'll have like, okay, when I say new tech, not really that new. It's just that some education places in Malaysia are just really crap. So they don't even have like projectors. It's really basic stuff they need. So, we're very passionate about helping them, and we want to fund them through FutureLab. So our mentors do this for free because we donate revenue to charity. So yeah, I think we can build a community that gives back, which would be very sick. And I think that'd be very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your time, and thank you for the questions. I really love answering questions. I don't like actually giving talks. It's not my thing. Um, So if you do see me giving talks around, so I'm giving another talk in like 2 hours in FCUC. So if you see me there, it's probably I don't really like doing that. But I prefer this, like answering questions and stuff. Anyways, thank you so much, guys. All the best. You know where to find me. All right. See you.